I'm going to start anyway. I didn't get anything in my ear then. But nevertheless, welcome to WCS Season 2 Finals. It is final day for the semi-finals and the grand final. I'm so thrilled to be here on this final day. We've had a terrific couple of days already. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do some pre-game chat and fill you in on what's exactly happened over the last 2 days. And with me, our toasters and our Apollo, everyone. Guys, it has been a terrific couple of days. I'm paraphrasing now, but I think, Dan, you said yesterday, we've seen some of the most amazing games all year and maybe of all time.
I actually think now this is the best StarCraft 2 tournament we have had to date. The games have been off the charts. Every match has been so hard fought on both sides. You don't get this that often.
Right, well, we're going to run through all the players and give you a bit more information about all those 4 players and how they actually got here as well. So let's just throw up exactly how the 16 players qualified through to the WCS Season 2 Finals. You can see on your screen right now, those 16 players have now come down to just 4 after 2 very competitive days. And we're going to run through those 4 players, gents. First of all, appropriately enough, who would have thought he would have been the only Protoss left in the semi-finals?
There was 7 Protoss players that entered the tournament. There was 7 Terran players, 2 Zergs. I didn't think he would be the last remaining Protoss player. When you got the likes of Rain in the tournament, MC's been performing very well recently, but First has been bringing out performances which are worthy for him being in the semi-final.
Yeah, and Dan, great player. We know how well he is, and he really has that ability to get inside the minds of his opponent.
Oh, he certainly does, and in fact, I do have to point out that in the middle of the WCS Korea season, we were actually looking at First and thinking, this guy might actually win the whole tournament. At the beginning, he was playing better than every other Protoss in the entire world. We were like, wow, First has finally come into his own. But then he kind of fell off and wasn't playing as well. But so far at this tournament, he has been killing it. He has been playing better than the other Protosses.
Yeah. You got anything else to add to that?
I think First is his entire career has been an interesting one because he started off playing in the GSL, but he always got unlucky because to do well in Code A and to get into Code S, you need a lot of luck because you run into a lot of good players there. He got a little bit unlucky, but in the international scene, he got second places. He won a tournament, a big tournament, and played incredibly well at the IEM Katowice. And this year, 5th place in the WCS Korea region. Remarkable performance to qualify for the Season 2 Finals, and as you said, has been playing some really top-level Protoss here as well.
So someone else that's also been playing very well, our next man is Jaedong. It's hard to sum him up without saying he's forever the bridesmaid. He's the runner-up in every tournament. We've seen him play like this before in other tournaments, all the way to the final, and then somehow fall over. And is this his tournament?
It might be. He has filled in all of his weaknesses at this point. His Zerg vs Protoss has looked fantastic, the best we've ever seen out of him. But that's pretty much all we've seen, and we know for a fact there's going to be a Terran in the final, so it's hard to say whether or not he's going to win. Is he going to be prepared for that matchup, like against Protoss, where he started out against only Protoss? It makes sense that that's what he's been working on lately.
Yeah, he's actually been a very popular character here at Gamescom this year. People have really got behind him in the crowd. Do you think that helps him at all here? Does he almost feel like he's on home soil?
The thing is with Jaedong is he knows he's probably the most popular StarCraft player ever. Up there with Flash, those 2 are the most popular. He's been playing StarCraft 2 for a year now, and every single step of the way, he's had support from the masses, and he knows that, he understands that, and the best part of all of it, he wants to improve himself to impress his fans and to make his fans proud of him. He's been having a great 2013 so far, multiple second place finishes, but something just tells me the Season 2 Finals, he's been tweeting, he's been confident, this could be the time that Jaedong actually gives back to his fans that have supported him for so long.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely look forward to that particular matchup as well. Let's move on. The Sun God, as he's been nicknamed, I don't know how many people have called him that, but yesterday was absolutely, was it just me? It might have just been me, I don't know. But yesterday, he was terrific against Rain, clean sweeping 3-0. usually when you look at that on paper, you'd say, boring games, 3-0, but it was anything but a boring game, but he has been playing absolutely brilliantly.
This is the best play I've ever seen out of Tasia. A lot of people bring up last year where he did so well. That was nothing compared to how he's playing now. Even comparatively to the other best players in the world, I feel like he's at a higher place. His play has actually just been so good. I don't even really know how to describe it. He's attacking better than anybody. He's defending perfectly. He is the complete package of a Terran player.
In terms of his weaknesses, though, Sean, he's got a couple in there, surely.
The funny thing is, you'd think that from Tasia, but the Tasia that we've seen at this tournament, as Artosis describes, is a complete package. I haven't seen any weaknesses from him yet. His mentality's great. Small things like his micro are fantastic. His builds are great. His strategy's amazing. And it is backed up by powerful macro, which means he's able to build all the units as fast as possible. And he is confident, which is so powerful. And especially the way that he's only lost a single map all tournament long against Innovation. Beating Innovation in itself was an amazing to 3-0 Rain, who's regarded as easily top 3 Protoss in the world. Tasia's just playing, as Dan says, the best we've ever seen him play.
And Dan, he does it with a smile and with a fist bump occasionally as well. He's got so much confidence right now. He looks happy when he's playing it. I don't want to put too much on it, but do you think that's actually helping his mentality?
Yeah, I think he's actually thankful to even be playing right now. He had those pretty serious wrist injuries that kind of sidelined him for a while. And to be able to come back from that and play better than you ever did, you always, when that happens, you're afraid, I guess I already hit my peak. Maybe I'm going away now. But to come back stronger than ever, I think he's enjoying every moment of every single game.
All right, let's move on to another man. Similar to Jaedong, has almost a similar story in a way. Last season was very good in WCS career. This season much better. Had a terrible group by his standards to get through. Somehow made it through, and now sits in the semi-final. Bomber, who again is a man who hasn't quite got there to win that tournament. Similar to Jaedong. We talked a little bit earlier on off air. Jaedong Bomber final. Would that, finally one of them wins that? Is what the crowd want, perhaps?
I think a Jaedong Bomber final is definitely a good final, but I'm quite sure that a lot of people want to see Jaedong versus Tasia. That's a final that I would personally love to see. Tasia is lovable, likewise is Jaedong. Bomber's got a lot of fans too, but I think that Team Liquid's Tasia definitely wants to be in the final, and a lot of other people want that as well.
And Artosis, his play this weekend has been very, very good as well. Almost on a par with Tasia, you could argue.
Yeah, Bomber is just playing out of his mind this season, which is really nice because when he first came up in Korea, we were all sure, okay, he's going to win one of the next GSLs. Never happened. He's been, flying around the world, playing in tournaments, but he's never gotten the really super big win that his skill level dictated. He fell off for a bit, he's back, and I think Tage is stealing a lot of the spotlight with how well he's playing and the way he's beating his opponents like Innovation, like Rain. But Bomber, somewhat quietly, is playing on a similar level. And let's not forget, he has the best TBT win percentage of anyone in StarCraft right now.
Yeah, I was going to raise that with Sean. I think he was nodding, ready to take that one away. But yeah, so we know how strong he is TBT. And yesterday we saw how strong he is TVZ as well. So if we think maybe Jaedong does get through, either of these two could end up being the champion this season.
I think that in a weird way, Bomber can do very well against Tasia, but I feel that Tasia, if Jaedong was to be in the finals, would do better against Jaedong. And the reason for that is, yesterday with Bomber versus Scarlet, Bomber's core play and the core fundamentals of his play against Scarlet was that he would change his opening differently every time to get a bit of an advantage to carry it through to the later stages. The way that Jaedong plays is very reactionary. He adapts very well. If he's able to see these small differences in the early stages, I don't think that Bomber would have a good surge to go into the middle of the game. But Tasia, on the other hand, if he was to play against Jaedong, then he doesn't need these small advantages to give him that little edge. I think Tasia, from a lot of people that I spoke to, professionals, other people here as well, are predicting Tasia to win the whole thing.
Yeah, we heard the LGN guys as well, actually, on, I think it was Friday. They were very bold and said, Tasia wins. That's it. No argument, nothing.
I do want to throw out there, though, if First gets through Jaedong, his late game PVT might be the best in the entire world. He looks unbeatable as long as he survives past a certain point. You know, if he gets 3 bases completely up and mining, I haven't seen Terran really beat him from there yet. So I think that he has potential if he gets through Jaedong to take Tasia down.
Okay, let's talk about the semi-final matchups as they are. First of all, well, first of course, because he's top of the list, but first Jaedong. How do you see it breaking down? Are we going to get all 5 maps? Is it going to be quick? Is it going to be cheese? What are we going to expect?
You know, this is a really hard matchup for me because I look at first play and it's very sharp against Zerg, but a lot of his games focus on getting in a little bit of early damage and kind of riding that through the momentum. Whereas Jaedong is a hyper-reactive Zerg. So I feel like if Jaedong can really scout out exactly what first plan is, then he's going to do well against it. But first is very good at covering that up as well. I do think we're going to go to 5 games with this match.
Okay, Apollo, your thoughts?
I really think Jaedong's come into this as the favorite. We haven't seen too many games from first. He hasn't played a Zerg player yet this tournament. In his own region, he played a few Zergs, and he really did look very clean, very crisp. And I do agree, if Jaedong's able to see what's coming before it comes, then I think Jaedong may even be able to take it 3-1. But if First doesn't try to play anything sneaky and has the right mindset and plays the game long, try to drag it out, play to his strengths, which is definitely his later stages. So if the game is ending in the early to mid, I'd favor Jaedong. If it goes super late, and especially if First keeps in mind that Jaedong likes to switch to Mutalisks, I would favor First there.
Okay, one other question about this. There were only 2 Zergs in the tournament, so do you think that the players coming into this would have practiced less because there's less of a chance? And will that then help Jaedong in this game?
Yeah, I think that that's a part of the reason why Jaedong and Scarlet have done so well here this weekend. Definitely their skill has more to do with it, but there's no question that the other players were practicing more for Protoss and for Terran. You know, you look at Jaedong and Scarlet, and neither of them have won anything really big. Jaedong has been notoriously weak against Protoss, and Scarlet is a foreigner. So I think that they've underestimated the Zerg players here. Okay. So that should help Jaedong a little bit through the end of the tournament.
Yeah, and I'd like to put another thing here. It's such a big tournament like the Season 2 Finals. For any player, even the likes of Innovation, I think you look at your group and say, all right, there's 16 players here. Everyone deserves to be here. Who is in my group? And especially First, who didn't have a Zerg in there, I think he looks at it and says, all right, there's a couple of Terran players and another Protoss player. I got to work on getting out this group. And I think every single player said the same thing. Who is in my group? Let me get out this group, and then I'll think about it after that. And thinking about it after that is what? A sleep, a couple of hours in the evening. There's not that much time to really do anything when it comes to preparation. First is definitely coming into this series against Jaedong, relying on what he knew before his practice to enter this tournament.
Okay, let's move on to our second semi-final. Tasia Bomber, all TVT. We've seen some crazy games already this week, and we've predicted a 5-map for the first semi-final. What do we think about the second one?
You know, this is a really hard one for me because Tasia has shown amazing TVT, but a lot of that we've seen has been, for instance, him busting through mech players. Now, Bomber is a Marine tank guy as well, so I think we're going to see a lot of Marine tank, and that definitely can go either way because as we've seen, when Bomber gets his economy rolling, he macros as well as anybody. He's going to have enough Marines to fight against Tasia. So I think that there's probably going to be a good amount of mind games in here. It's going to be a really good series. But who wins it? I mean, Bomber's played higher level TVTs and won them in Korea recently than Tasia has.
Okay, yeah, I mean, talk about the experience now, because both these two come from completely different regions. Tasia was great in WCS America, but Bomber, as Artosis just said, has that major advantage of being able to practice TVT in a high-level area of Korea.
All right, Bomber beat Flash, Bomber beat Innovation. All right, do I really need to say more about his Terran versus Terran? Bomber comes into this, just because of his win rate and how well he's doing in Terran versus Terran, I feel that he comes into it as a slight edge over Tasia here, for sure. Tasia, on the other hand of things, Tasia beat Innovation at this tournament as well. Tasia is a complete player, and he's been in Europe now for, I think, maybe 1 to 2 weeks before this tournament. He played in the ACER Team Story Cup Finals, and he had a couple of runoffs with 4GG, who is also one of the best Terran versus Terran players, and he got a couple of lessons. He had a spanking against 4GG, let me tell you that. So I really think that after having the spanking from 4GG and just having Because every single player, when they lose hard, they say, oh my god, what am I doing wrong? And they forget everything else and fix that. So I think Tasia, upon losing to 4GG just a week ago, definitely has fixed things up and was able to beat Innovation here at this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the win rates are staggering. I mean, if I had a 60% TVT, I'd be quite happy, but the other man on the other side of the fence has an 89% win rate. It's insane.
You know, he actually innovated a lot in TVT. For instance, when he beat Flash in WCS Korea and knocked him out of the tournament, he brought out strategies that Flash hadn't seen, I hadn't seen, Tasteless hadn't seen, nobody had seen. These were completely new, really neat ways to play. And how does Tasia prepare for someone who may bring something to the table that he has never seen? You have to be really good reactively, which Tasia is, but Bomber might have a little bit of an edge going up against Tasia.
Okay, well, we're going to find out fairly shortly because those semi-finals aren't far away. I can't leave you, though, without making a prediction. And just, lay it on the line, Sean. Out of the 4 players to the left, who's your favourite?
It's going to be, I think, Jaedong versus Tasia finals. And I would put it in favour of Tasia.
Okay, I'm going to go with that for now. I'm sort of secretly praying that Bomber does well, but that's just a personal thing because I'm a Terran and Tasia would be a fine champion as well. Is it surprising, just one last question before we go over to Chobra, is it surprising to you that the way that we've got the semi-finals, with all the domination that we had in Protoss in Europe, for instance, that we've ended up with 2 Terrans, 1 Protoss, 1 Zerg? David Kim's doing his job, right?
You know, a lot of people like to whine and complain about balance, but I've noticed that in most big international tournaments like this, the layout is 2 of one race in the top 4 and 1 of each of the others. I've seen it so many times. The game is much more balanced than many players would have you believe.
All right. Any final words, Sean?
I agree with that, and I also think at this level of tournament, these 4 players, I even like to oversee who is higher skilled than the other. It comes down to who has the better mindset, who is more confident, who doesn't crack under the pressure.
All right, well, thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. Artosis and Apollo. Fantastic to get their thoughts on the games before we head over to the semi-finals. We do have a very, very special interview with Chobra.
Thank you, Red Eye, and special indeed because before the weekend wraps up, we have yet another chance to talk to the lovely gentleman coming out from On Game Net in South Korea. It's going to be Go Rush and the Marine, the commentators for StarCraft 2 out in Korea. Give them a big round of applause for coming out here and really watching StarCraft 2 with everyone this entire weekend. I mean, how lovely has that been, right? We've had amazing matches. We just had Apollo and Artosis talk about it, and I want to get their opinion because these guys are past pros. They're current commentators commentating. Some would say the best players in the world. And how have they seen it? We've seen some upsets. 자, 그러면 저희 이번 대회 WCS 코리아 선수들이 어떻게 보면 예상 의외로 처음에 많이 좀 탈락을 하셨어요.
네.
그걸 어떻게 생각하세요? 그게 왜 그랬을까? 아니면 해외가 진짜 해외에서도 그만큼 선수들이 훈련을 한 건가? 어떻게 생각하세요?
네, 저는 개인적으로 놀랐던 것이 특히나 이제 스칼렛 선수나 나니와 선수의 선전도 굉장히 인상적이었었고 또 이제 WCS 아메리카 선수들이 이번 시즌에 잘하고 있잖아요. 이런 부분에서 세계적인 균형이 맞아주고 있는 것 같아서 이건 참 다행이라고 생각을 하고 긍정적으로 보고 있습니다.
The Marine says, I've been very impressed with Naniwa and Scarlet's performance this weekend, but also WCS America players have been doing exceptionally well, and I think that speaks to very good balance globally, and I'm very happy that we're getting to that point in StarCraft 2. Let's see what GoRush has to say. 그러면 뭐 어떻게 보셨어요? 또 저그가 또 특별히 2 선수밖에 없었는데 지금 한 선수는 이제 준결승까지 올라오셨어요. 그거는 뭐 어떻게 생각하세요? 진짜 이제는 선수들에게만 남았구나. 선수의 실력만 우리가 볼 수 있는 이런 대회구나. 그렇게 생각하세요?
예, 뭐 최근에 사실 저가 좀 힘든 것은 사실인데 이재동 선수가 확실히 이제 군단의 심장에 완벽하게 적응을 하면서 어떻게 저그를 플레이해야 되는지를 알게 된 것 같고 그래서 강현 선수와의 경기에서는 사실 올라오면서 프로토스와 경기를 많이 펼쳤기 때문에 자신의 단점이 확실히 좀 드러나 있거든요. 그런 것들을 본인 스스로 이제 생각을 해서 단점을 보완해가지고 나왔다면 결승까지도 무난하게 올라갈 수 있지 않을까 생각합니다.
And with Gorish, I had to talk about the Zerg count. Of course, we just talked about how there were only 2 this tournament, and now we have Jaedong left. Gorosh says Zerg has been in a difficult time recently, but Jaedong, I think, has figured out how to play Zerg in Heart of the Swarm now. He's shown great performance. The only concern is that because he had to play so many protesters on the way up, some of his weaknesses definitely showed, and First is going to try to take advantage of that. If Jaedong can brush up on that, if he came prepared specifically to take down one last Protoss, he could easily go into the finals and show us what he's made of in the grand finals of WCS Season 2. Now, we just talked about the matchups, and I have to ask them, we won't go with predictions because we've been safe for that this weekend, but what they think or what they want to see in the finals, because I know Apollo desperately wants Jaedong versus Tasia. 그러면 남은 준결승전 선수들 중에
네.
어떤 결승이 제일 재밌을 것 같으세요?
제 개인적인 생각으로는 이재동 선수와 윤영서 선수의 엄청난 피지컬 싸움 이런 걸 개인적으로 보고 싶기도 한데 그냥 지금 이 상황에서 사실 어떠한 대진이 어떻게 만들어져도 상관이 없다고 생각하는 게 테란과 테란이 만났고 저가 프로토스가 만나서 결승은 누가 올라가던 간에 아주 재미있는 이번 시즌 자체가 최고의 WCS 시즌이 될 것 같아요.
그러면 그 박태민 선수는 해설위원님 이제 그 박태민 해설위원은 그 지금 방금 다들 이재동 선수가 올라가면 진짜 좋겠다. 그런데 태태전에서는 어차피 테란이니까 솔직히 누가 올라가도 재밌지 않겠냐 그렇게 말씀을 많이 하시는데 최지성 선수가 저희가 방금 봤다시피 89%예요. 그게 지금까지 이어질 수 있다고 생각하세요?
일단은 이제 계속해서 이제 선수로 칭호를 해주시니까 경기석에서 게임을 하고 싶어요. 예, 저도 이제 이 경기를 지켜보면서 프로게이머 생활을 조금 더 오래 했으면 이렇게 해외에서도 경기를 하고 좀 이렇게 좋은 경험 할 수 있었을 것이라는 좀 아쉬움이 남고요. 어쨌든 간에 말씀하셨듯이 최희성 선수가 테란전 성적이 굉장히 좋은데 그것은 아무래도 군단의 심장 초창기 때 화염기압병 좀 이제 많이 사용했을 때의 그런 승률이라 생각을 하고 지금은 약간 자유에너지가 좀 비슷한 형태로 흘러나오고 있는 상황이기 때문에 윤영서 선수가 그런 상황에서는 최고의 테란이라고 생각을 하고 있어서 아무래도 윤영서 선수가 그래도 승리를 거두지 않을까라 생각을 하고요. 이재동 선수와 강현우 선수와의 대결에서는 앞서서도 말씀드렸듯이 강현우 선수가 이재동 선수의 단점이 확실히 드러났는데 그것을 어떻게 노리고 들어가느냐 준비를 얼마나 잘해왔느냐가 중요할 것 같습니다.
We had a good laugh in the middle of the interview because I've been calling him Gorosh with his ID and then I directed him as a player during the interview. So Gorosh saying, I wish I was still a player. I'd love to play on these booths on a global stage. But talking about the finals coming up and the semifinals, of course, the Marine says, I think we're going to have a great story no matter what. And Jaedong's been playing well. And then we have a TVT. I think Tasia versus Jaedong would be really fun to watch, but Bomber also a brilliant Terran. So I asked Gorosh, Bomber's 89%. Is it going to continue? And Gar says, a lot of those wins were back when Hellbats were reigning the entire map of StarCraft 2. These days it's gone back a little bit to Wings of Liberty, and that's where Tasia's strength is. So we'll have to really watch out to see if Tasia can take that minor discrete win over Bomber to go into the grand finals of WCS Season 2. Once again, give a big round of applause. Thank you so much to the Marine and Gorosh coming out from On Game Net all the way to enjoy some brilliant StarCraft 2. And now we have the last day ready for you guys. I'm going to throw it over to Red Eye to go on with the semifinals.
Thanks very much, Chobra. Fantastic translation skills as well. I have no idea how he manages to memorize all of those words and then translate them into English. So, fantastic start today, and my thanks to our toasters and Apollo for their thoughts. We'll see them a little bit later on in the show. We are going to get to our first semi-final in just a moment, but it's a great time to recap on where these two players have been, how they've got here, and their roads to the semi-final. First up, appropriately enough, let's take a look at First's story.
Okay, there was one moment this season in Premier League when I was like, I love you First.
As we have our first series from Group B, it's going to be Pult versus First. That's not going to go too well, especially with those Archons able to tank quite a lot as well here. The Vikings try to go to work. They do kill off one of the Colossi, but Storms hit both of these big bio clumps, ripping them apart. And there you go, GG for game number 1.
This was a perfect display of how solid you can play right now versus Terran.
Very, very impressive games here by First to kick things off in Group B.
Time for the winner's game final. The winner will advance through to the quarterfinal in our $150,000 championship.
I saw him play and he beat Fantasy hard.
Oh, he's not really committing with most of his army.
Look at that spread of
That's so
units.
sick.
Look at it, he's saying, all right, the only way you can win is if you storm my army, but guess what? Can you storm everywhere right now? And this is a beautiful setup, a decent storm there, but it's not enough. It's not enough. This is going to be a good one. They played yesterday, and now they're going to play again in the rematch to decide who moves on to the round of 8, who moves on to play alive, and who is the second place finisher in Group B. And Paul is going to have to fight, and he is dropping in supply. And First is very, very close to picking up a 2-0 here, Artosis.
He certainly is. Those 2 Immortals and 4 Archons going to work on Polt's army. That's it. GG!
What a game from First. We now move on to our first quarterfinal here, and oh boy, is it a good one. First versus Alive. Trying to put on harassment, trying to kill off the cannon, slowly weakening this army. A great storm on those ghosts, and he's just charging forward. There's actually no more ghosts left in this army.
It's all going to come down to this, and these storms are so good.
Oh, First actually killing off so much of this army.
And the Ghosts are actually taking a lot of damage right now. There's still a couple of High Templars. Here come all those Zealots. There are so many Stalkers and Colossus in his army.
And there you go, GG! And First, after a grueling series, is able to move on to the round of 4. What a series, what a comeback, what a game.
Ladies and gentlemen, your first semi-finalist, please welcome him to the stage. From Korea, representing Incredible Miracle, he is First! And he goes head-to-head with a man still searching for his first major championship. How does he get to the final? Well, that's a good question. We're going to find that out in a moment. But let's find out first how he got to the semi-final. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Jaedong.
It's Jaedong. He's a legend Apollo. He's only gotten second places recently. He's looking to try to win this. What is he going to do against these Vipers? He's going to be very careful. He got pulled in. 3 huge abducts. 2 of them fall down already.
160 to 96 with so many units coming in. And if that third Nexus goes down, I feel this is Jaedong's game. It's going to be right here.
That's it. GG.
Whoa, what a start for Jaedong. Jaedong looked incredible versus Rain, but this is the boss toss here. This is SKMC.
2 of the biggest winners ever in esports history going at it.
And then the march forward happens. The Immortal 1 gets targeted down. The second one will probably fall very, very shortly as well.
GG! And Jaedong is our first player to advance to the round of 8.
One of the most legendary games that we've seen so far this year, and they meet again in the round of 8 here.
Get on the internet, let everyone know, get on Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, everything. This is the match today that I think everybody needs to see.
A couple of Corruptors are going down here, but likewise the Phoenixes, a couple of Roaches coming to support them.
And these 3 Colossus in for a beating Apollo. They are being taken out so quickly. That leaves just the Stalkers, which will be killed as well. In the meantime, we do have Nanoa's other half of his army trying to take on all these Jaedong units, but look at the supply. What does Nanoa even try? I think he's dead, Apollo.
I think he's dead as well. Here as Jaedong comes in. GG! Map number 1 goes to Jaedong. Nothing seems to be working here for the Swede. Naniwa down majorly in supply.
Oh my God, one volley off from killing that Atru. Some great micro on both sides, but Jaedong is looking unstoppable right now, pushing forward, so many circlings. GG!
Jaedong takes the 2-0.
This is history in the making. Glad you guys are tuned in, because you'd be kicking yourself if you missed this live. They both have really high supplies, but fungal growth. Oh!
Jaedong!
The ultimate fungal growth going down. Another one as well.
The Mothership Core card were called.
Anawa's entire army falling, and it looks like Jaedong is going to advance.
GG! Jaedong's beaten Naniwa. 2 attempts in the past, he failed twice, but the third time Jaedong has done it, and he is in the semi-finals on Tosis, and he is happy about it as well.
You can see just how much it means to the man. Please welcome your second semi-finalists, representing Korea and Evil Geniuses. It's Jaedong! And we're almost ready for the semi-final, our first of the day in our $150,000 championship. It's time to find out who goes through to the grand final. Is it first? Is it Jaedong? First of all, though, let's get some pre-game thoughts from both men with Chobra.
Thank you, Red Eye. And man, we need to talk to these two players, because both of them have said some things this weekend that they really need to live up to right this moment on stage. I'm going to go ahead with the man with the correct name for this one first and see what he has to say about defending the reputation of Korean Protoss players in Heart of the Swarm. 자, 그럼 준결승전까지 올라오셔서 축하드리고요. 저희 지난번에 인터뷰 하셨을 때 아직도 꾸준히 이번 주말에 계속 그러셨죠. 아직도 최강의 프로토스는 한국에서 나온다. 그리고 내가 이 자리에서 그걸 지키겠다. 그렇게 말씀하셨는데 오늘 이재동 선수 상대로 그걸 꾸준히 지키시고 결승까지 올라갈 자신 있으신가요?
어차피 이번 대회에 남은 게 프로토스가 저밖에 없으니까 그거 자존심 지키기 위해서 오늘 꼭 이길 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
You know, I'm the only Protoss left this weekend. I have to defend not only the Korean Protoss reputation, but for all Protosses in this tournament. So I will make sure I go to that finals and make sure that Protoss is represented in the grand finals of WCS Season 2. Let's see what the Protoss killer has to say this weekend. This man has only taken down Protoss the entire tournament. 그럼 이재동 선수 이번 대회에 꾸준히 프로토스 상대로만 하셔서 올라오셨어요. 퍼스트 선수가 최강의 프로토스는 그래도 한국에서 나온다. 그리고 내가 마지막으로 남아있다. 그렇게 말씀하셨는데 자신 있으신가요?
그 긴 말 필요 없이 경기로 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
I don't need to say anything longer. I'll show you guys in game. Man of very little words, Jaedong wants to make sure that what he said yesterday, if you guys remember, Jaedong said it himself. The tyrant is back. Can he live up to it? Let's just see if they are really confident, how hungry they are for that trophy right before we go into the game. 자, 그러면 두 분 다 뭐 자신 있다 그렇게 말씀하셨는데 이번 준결승만이 아니라 저 앞에 저 트로피가 바로 보이잖아요. 저 트로피 얼마나 원하시나요?
진짜 많이 원하고 있고 해외 대회 왔으니까 아무래도 제가 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
I want it a lot, and this is a foreign tournament. For those of you guys who don't know, First shines a lot in foreign tournaments, so he says, I think that means I can win. Let's see what Jaedong has to say, the man who's been sitting quite often in second place recently. 그럼 이재동 선수는 최근에 와서는 준우승을 자주 하셨는데 이번에는 저 트로피를 꼭 줄 수 있을 거라고 생각하세요?
아메리카에서도 준우승했기 때문에 이번에는 기필코 우승할 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
I got second place in WCS America too. This time it's for real. I will make sure I am the champion of WCS Season 2. Once again, give a big round of applause to your first semi-finalist of the Season 2 Grand Finals for StarCraft 2 here in Gamescom Cologne in Germany. Thank you so much, everyone. And now let's get ready to get into the game with Todd and Kalaris.
Thank you very much, Chobra. Welcome to the Caster's Desk here for the first semi-final of the day. And oh boy, is it going to be a good one. Jaedong versus First. Both of these players looking fantastic in their respective matchups. And Todd, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Let me simply put this for you. Jaedong, this guy was born to play StarCraft. He's a legend in StarCraft Brood War. In StarCraft 2, he's transitioned very, very well. Right from the start when he transitioned, he was putting out very, very good results. Now he's took a lot of second places, and this could be the time now. He's finally shown some great strength against Protoss. It's always been his weakness, and now he's only taken down great Protosses. So I think this might be his time here. This might be the moment where he finally sees his first trophy, and how interesting is this going to be? We get to witness this live.
Exactly. A lot of people going into this tournament were slightly fearful of Jaedong, as his ZVP was never really his shining point. But now here at this tournament, he has surpassed himself. He has done so well in this matchup, and I feel as if it's, you know, he wants to infuse his own style into each matchup he goes into, and it took a little bit of time for him to fully concentrate on what he wanted to do. Now that he's found that position, we saw yesterday going for proxy hatches at naturals, very good.
I agree with you, and to be honest, what Jaedong's own style is simply winning. We saw him play every single different style you can play against Protoss and pulling it off every single time. So Evito's Aquilan Waste, which I mean, we've seen him play great games on this map, but this is one of those maps where as Protoss it can be easier than on other maps to take a fourth base or even a third base, so it's not gonna want to play this kind of game against First. And First removing the Relic Watcher, I guess it was either gonna be that or Star Station, because taking a third can prove much harder than on some other maps. So very standard vetoes here by these two players. They're only gonna get a single veto each.
I'm not surprised by these either here. Jaedong has the eyes of a killer. When we've seen in the booth in the past, during going up against these Protoss, you can tell how much he wants this tournament. But likewise, on the other hand of things, we have a player like First, who comes to a lot of the tournaments run by ESL and wins a hell of a lot of money. He does well here. So now this is his environment. He knows exactly what he's doing going up against a player like Jaedong, but at the same time, I kind of have to go with what Apollo was saying. This actually could be Jaedong's tournament. He is looking really strong.
I think one thing that hasn't been talked about a lot is that, in my opinion, First is one of the very best late game player there is. Like if you say past the 30th or 40th minutes, First is, I think, one of the most terrorizing player to play against, because he always know how to be patient, and much like Hazuops, but just, I guess, better, you could say that, and much like Hazuops as well. Yesterday we saw some of his Templar control and his feedback. Those were great. It was against Terran, of course, but against Zerg, storms and feedback can be very important as well. We saw Jaedong play with Vipers, so First is this patient guy who can make everything work with Protoss, but he's against a Zerg who made everything work against Protoss so far this tournament. So I can't wait to see where these two players go for. There is a lot of options here actually for both of these players to open with. They can mix it up quite much. We've seen Jaedong play with some Roach Hydra Viper. As I said, he used to play a lot with the Zergling Hydralisk style with heavy upgrades. We've seen those Muta switches perfectly executed. I mean, being a Brood War player, an ex-Brood War player, he's gonna control his Muta like nobody else is. He can control his Mutas and Haras all around the map, and at the same time macro perfectly, and that's what makes him such a scary player in my opinion as well.
Exactly, and that's the thing that we're gonna First is gonna have to look out for. We've seen it time and time again. Jaedong loves that Muta switch. How is First gonna prepare into the later stages of the game to deal with that? As we can see here on the screen, our maps are as follows. Whirlwind will start things off. I love that we're starting on Whirlwind, and then we go to Neoplanet S, Star Station, Belshire Vestige, Newkirk Precinct to round things up. I want this to go to all 5 matches, and it certainly could do. Both players performing at their very, very peak right now in StarCraft. All the players across the board here throughout the round of 16 onwards performing at their absolute tip-top shape, and any player could take this championship out of these last 4.
Yeah, I completely agree. Looking at Jaedong's last few games in WCS, he faced Jim in WCS America, and he was able to win 3-2, very close games, but it was still that time where he didn't look all that convincing against Protoss, although a win against Jim is pretty big, because Jim is really, really, really good. So now, here at the WCS World Finals, he was able to beat Rain, MC, and then Naniwa. I mean, it doesn't
so
get
impressive.
any better than that.
Exactly, it's so impressive. Again, there was that speculation, how well will Jaedong fare in his group? And he answered it so well, just saying, I am going to absolutely dominate. I was not expecting Jaedong myself to go through in first place during that group, but he did. He proved me wrong, he proved a lot of people wrong. And now we can see here a little preview of Whirlwind. It's a big, big map, the biggest map that we have in the pool thus far. And as it says here, those 4 spawning locations, they can make for interesting dynamics on this map.
Yeah, and you know, I had the chance to talk a little bit with Artosis before this series, and having casted some of First's game in the WCS Korea, he basically explained me how First likes to go for some small aggression, some Zealot warpins to try to put some pressure on. He also likes Stargate, and he's gonna be this patient guy who just gets his perfect composition to hit some timing attacks sometimes he takes a third and he delays the aggression until later. He just keeps on harassing with some Phoenixes. He can play a lot of different style very, very well.
Yeah.
And looking at his history, in the first group stage of WCS Korea, the current season, it was season 2, he was able to beat Roro and Linok. It was the best of 1, but he was able to beat both of them, taking first in his initial group. So with some big wins like this already, later on, he was able to beat Symbol as well with 2-0. It's safe to say this guy is good against Zerg. We have only seen him against Terran so far in this tournament, and he showed that this might be his best matchup. So I think if he makes it to the finals, he's gonna have a very good shot at being potentially one of those Terrans. But first, he has to beat Jaedong, who showed great form. Like, it's so amazing. I think that we have 4 players in the semifinals who have like such a strong win rate in the matchup they are playing in, or they show such strong form in it. Yeah. And 71% versus Zerg, oh my god.
Exactly, it's evident here. First's qualification match to actually attend this tournament was against Symbol, as you previously mentioned. So the pressure was really on when he played his last Zerg opponent. And aside from that, it's all been Protoss and Terrans here from there on. So for First, this is a little bit of a kickback to where he previously was going up against the Zergs, but you can guarantee those skills that you mentioned previously, they are very transferable. Those feedbacks, those storms, all in the later stages against Jaedong, who is, you can guarantee in this series, the Mutalisks are going to come. And First has to account for it.
And you know, on Whirlwind, you can see some games sometime going the distance, because this is such a huge map. You can take lots of bases. Sometimes you're gonna see base trade. You're gonna see some Muta switches, very possible as well.
Yeah.
Although he first opens for Phoenixes, he's usually able to scout very, very well as do damage. I think it's so funny, like how Protosses, say like Hero, Rain, all these guys first, when they get 4 or 5 Phoenixes, like they get so much damage done, they get scouting done as well. Like I can imagine on the weekend they're at the bar discussing together, so how did your 4 Phoenixes do yesterday? And one guy goes like, well, you know, he left before I reached Colossus since I killed so much. Like, they can really do and make something, a lot happen with just a few Phoenixes and just by harassing and taking information. That's so important at this level of play, because Jaedong, you don't scout him for 2 minutes, he gets a Spire down, you're in for a very, very difficult time, I feel.
And as you can see here on screen, Jaedong's win percentages, I don't think anymore that 56% against Protoss is reflective of his current skill level.
Yeah, it's more like 90% now.
It's it's very, very strong. And again, it was just those teething problems that he had in order to slowly get his playstyle infused in the matchup. And he's found that stride now. He's found that spot where he can say, this is my style, this is how I'm going to present it, and First could have a bit of trouble. Jaedong could certainly advance.
I feel like Jaedong, he has understood something that he hadn't before. Before he always kind of struggled, especially against all-ins or just in general against Protoss. He always lost some very close games, but it just felt like he was missing something. But now I think he's found that one thing. With his recent successes against Protoss, it looked very convincing every single time.
It certainly did. And now the countdown has begun for our first game of the day. Jaedong versus First here as we get into the first semi-final to determine who moves on to that grand final. As First and Jaedong, Whirlwind will be our map.
this is going to be good.
Yes, definitely going to be. I like that we open on this map too. It's such an interesting map.
Exactly. This is the map where these guys get to feel out their opponent in this best of 5, see what they're going to bring to the table. If one of them just goes for some crazy earlier aggression, I would be very, very surprised here. So almost guaranteed for a big, big macro map.
Then again, it's a best of 5, so you can always try to open sometimes for something surprising, or you can try to set the pace for the series or make your opponent scared of all-ins, but I don't know, I just see these two players playing Kata standard and try to outplay each other in this first game.
All right, well, here we go. They have loaded into the game as we now have First versus Jaedong here, Protoss versus Zerg, Korea versus Korea. So let's jump right on in to our first map as we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner, our red Protoss representing Incredible Miracle and Korea. Give it up for First. Down to the bottom left, our blue Zerg, representing Evil Geniuses in Korea. Give it up for Jaedong!
At first, I don't think I've seen First do too many gateway expansions, so although he's very capable of doing that, in this first game he's going to open with a pylon down his ramp, so probably a Forge expand and a quick scout, which is interesting. You don't necessarily always have to scout with this, but I guess Jaedong is one of those players. He's shown guts before. He's gone for some cheeses in some very important games, sometimes even the last game of a series. Sometimes he's pulled it off, sometimes not. But First, he's not going to want to take any risk there. And I think this is a very good indication that First, he might want to play standard from there. Look, is he even going for the Forge on 14?
Wow. Well,
this is very early. Like, you don't have to do this. You can throw it down much later, but I guess since this is a 4-players map, and he hasn't scouted his opponent first.
But he's sending out the second probe. Is this to say, just in case you're going for the hatchery, I'm going to try and cannon rush, or just at least know where you are?
Yes, very, very nicely read here, Kailaris. This is exactly what this is. I think he's just going to want to cannon rush the hatchery first of Jaedong, and we have a hatchery first. So Jaedong is going to need perfect defense, which we've seen him pull off before. I think it was against Naniwa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we saw a very, very similar thing with Naniwa trying to go for a similar build as well. His Forge was a little bit earlier, I believe, against this, but now he's moving into position. It's already been seen by the Overlord, so how well can this work out for First?
It really depends how he throws down the pylon and just if he's... Oh, no, actually, he's just faking it. I think he might realize, since he scouted this very late and he's been spotted with the second Overlord, this will be too hard to pull off. He has to add in the games with his Naniwa, so he's just going to throw down a Nexus for now. I would have liked to see a pylon on the expansion. I think Jaedong would have pulled a lot of drones, and then you just cancel the pylon, you only lose 25. But in this case, he just wanted to throw down his Nexus as soon as possible, and he did just that.
No too bad a position here for First, as well as Jaedong as he continues to power on with his spawning pull just about to finish. Meanwhile, First just walling off, making sure that nothing crazy is going to happen. But Gateway before Cannon here, a little bit more of a macro focused and more kind of focused towards your tech build, as he doesn't believe there's going to be too many Zerglings out to pressure him very early, and he'd be right about that.
Yeah, I like that First open so safe in the first game. He didn't want to get surprised, to get tricked or anything. So even scouting with the 2 probes, he just made sure that he wasn't going to get rushed by some kind of Zerglings early on. He got his early Forge, and he was safe against everything, literally. Like at worst, he would have had to make a pylon into his main, and got a cannon there. But now he's going to be able to confirm the third, and he's going to be able to know that there is no very quick aggression headed his way. I think he's going to be pretty happy about this. And start chrono boosting probes.
Yep, certainly so. Cannon's on the way as well as that cybernetics core here, and he's not actually chrono boosting just yet. He's saving it up.
Lots of energy in the main. A little bit surprising out of the player of this caliber. Do you think he could be saving this for +1 and warp gate? Maybe he's got 150 gas already, so we're gonna see. Lots of chrono boost saved up in the main, actually.
As a professional Protoss player, Todd, is this something that you have gone to in the past in terms of putting on some aggression early to save up this chrono boost, or is this something that First is, it's a little bit more stylized towards him?
He doesn't strike me as the kind of player who would go for a very, very aggressive build with chrono boost on the warp gate. Like I could see him doing the +1 +4 gateway, Zealot aggression, but without chrono boosting the warp gate and +1 usually. And he throws down the Stargate, so I guess this is weird.
Yeah.
Look, the main Nexus is almost... Okay, it was almost full energy at this point. and he just chrono boosted both of his Nexus.
Okay, yeah, plenty of probes queued up there as well, so he can just kind of crank out as much economy as possible. And he's up to 33 probes against 34 drones, but that drone count now is going to start to climb up as well, very, very strongly here for Jaedong, as he's getting a few Zerglings, just a sprinkling to keep himself defended in the middle of the map, make sure he doesn't get caught off guard by anything. A nice position here for Jaedong, just to say, I'm safe for now.
And there is a probe out on the map by first on the bottom right-hand side of the map. He was okay. I thought he was going to get supply block, but he had made a pylon in the corner of his base, and that Overlord. Where's the Stalker? It's not on the map, so the Overlord might be able to spot the Stargate here. First, he should have kept his Stalker in his main. I don't know why he left the Zealot in the wall and sent the Stalker out, but now he might be scouted. You never want this to happen against Jaedong. And behind this, he throws down 2 gateway. Usually it's 3. To possibly go for some aggression. Oh, the probe out on the map. He's gonna be found. This is big.
Yeah, nice scout there by Jaedong with these Zerglings, making sure he's covered every single position on the map. I mean, look at the mini-map. It's almost entirely been covered right now with scouting. So Jaedong really keeping an eye on things, taking perfect precautions against first.
And the 4th gateway was thrown down at the natural. First, he took the 3rd and 4th gases at his expansion. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Robo. Yeah, we do see it go down now. And he's going to start the harass with the Phoenixes. Let's see how much he can do with that. He's going to have to do a lot here. I feel like Jaedong, he's drawn perfectly in this game. He hasn't missed a single inject. He's throwing down his Pork Orders at the exact right time he has to now, just when the Phoenixes get there. Look, one single Phoenix is going to be attacking that Queen. I think Jaedong doesn't really care. Like, the Spore's going to finish. The Queen won't even die later on.
And it was the perfect positioning for the Queen as well. All too often you see Zergs leave their Queen on the bottom of the hatchery, just to kind of where it actually spawns, but he brings it back to the mineral line.
Ooh. First, he only saw one of the evolution chambers. He didn't see both of them. If he had seen them now, I mean, this is pretty important. You know that your opponent is getting upgrades and he's not going to be all that aggressive. You can even see if they are upgrading by the way they are moving. And I'm surprised this happened. Usually first is the guy who sees everything, very much so like Rain. He's very good at scouting and adapting, but in this case, he has seen only one of the Evos.
Oh, I think he's going to try and go and secure his 3rd. There was an Overlord there, but it's not actually spreading creep, so he can't do that. Zerglings try and push in, but I don't think they're going to get too much done here. Yeah. Good force fields will save the majority of the sentries.
Yeah, nothing died actually by first. Jaedong, if he had gone for a run by, the wall wasn't closed by first, so he would have had to warp a Zealot right on time. And with the 1-1 melee and carapace upgrade going down, and that infestation pit, we see Jaedong reverting to his, I guess you could say, old style, where you go for lots of Zerglings into Ultras.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, there is still lots of possibilities. He could do something else, but I really do think that that's what he wants to go for here. And all of those Phoenixes getting some nice kill on some drones here.
It's a great tactic to go for on a map like that is so wide open. If he takes engagements in the middle of the map, first could try and just stabilize on the 3 base and choke up those locations. But aside from that, whoa, Zergling's going to run in here. Again, spending a lot of force fields. He can try and save as many of these units, but the Zergling's trapped in with those sentries. He catches 2 of them. Zergling's still going to town on a lot of these Zealots, and even more Zerglings coming in. Jaedong is committed to this.
Wow, this is a 1-1 timing, very, very strong here. First wasn't ready. He missed the force fields, and his 3rd base is going to have to be cancelled. This is huge. Jaedong behind this, he just has to take 2 hive, get some ultras, and he's going to be in a perfect position. He's already started to do. He's getting pathogen glands now, and first he's getting Colossus now. Does he all in from there? I feel like he's in a really bad position. He might have to. Look, he's throwing down lots of gateways in his main. He's overly saturated on his expansion. We might see first not actually playing his very best here. He's thrown off his best game by Jaedong playing so well.
Yeah, I think he's in a terrible position. But the thing is that Jaedong right now only has Zerglings. Getting pathogen glands, obviously, with Infestors would help out a lot. But once Thermal Lance is done with Colossus, that gets a little bit effective. Does first now just have to go before Hive is there, before Ultralisks are there?
Yeah, possibly. And Hive just started as first left the main of Jaedong, so he's not even going to know that this happened. I think he's just going to try to retake his 3rd from there and play safe and, I guess you could say, turtly, like with some camping, but ooh, Jaedong going for the huge attack on those units.
Zerglings, are they going to actually kill off a Colossus here? If they do, that's bad times for first. He's actually going to get it. He gets the Colossus. The Immortal might end up falling as well. This Zergling assault by Jaedong has been fantastic. Killing off army after army. These Zealots have not had a chance at all to deal with this. And Jaedong in game number 1 looking great.
Yeah, making every single decision right. First had seen how many Zerglings there was. I'm surprised he didn't try to wall his army off next to the Nexus. And now he didn't have enough force fields too, because of losing the first few sentries that he had. So he's actually, I feel like he's lost right now. He's getting one extra Phoenix, which he does not particularly need. Ooh, Jaedong's gonna get right back in there. I don't think this time he should be able to make this work. He's gonna go for the target on the Nexus.
Oh, will he be able to get it here? If he could, that'd be great. But at the same time, he cleaned up a lot of the Zerglings. He's going to get it again. First, he's going to lose it. He didn't cancel either. Oh my God, Jaedong here with this aggression. And now behind it, the Ultralisk Cavern goes down. First has a timer above his head. He needs to do something. As 3-3 start, adrenal glands as well. Jaedong in game number 1 is actually taking the fight to first so well.
He's taking a force base. He's going to take the gases just right as the hatchery finishes there, and Jaedong is playing so well right now. He's not here for second place this time. I can tell you this much.
Oh yeah. And if he gets past this, he's going to have to go up against a Terran, which I think he's pretty happy with. Entirely depends on how well he prepares.
First, he didn't see the Hive morphing yet, so he's going to go. I think he's going to go and check on that now. He's going to see the Hive finish, possibly the Ultralisk Cavern. If he goes in there with his Phoenixes, he's going to be like, oh man, I need to start making some Immortals now.
The Infestors in the middle of the map were moving down to try and catch these Phoenix. These are the only thing that are keeping Jaedong back just a little bit here with that Phoenix harassment. Very, very minute in detail though, as Jaedong for now, he flies in, he sees the Ultralisk Cavern, he sees that whirring away as well with chitinous plating. Colossi are on the way, but I don't even think that's going to matter. 5 Ultralisks are in production. They're going to do so much damage.
And Jaedong is on 80 drones right now. This is almost perfect. He just needs a few more. He needs to saturate his force base very nicely. He's going to be able to get so many Zerglings and Ultras out that with these Queens in support and the Infestors, he can go for a kill move a little bit later on if he wants to. He can try. And for first to hold this, he's going to be so hard. I mean, he finally saw the Ultralisk take. So from there, he's going to try to get as many Immortals out as he can. He's getting charged as well. He's getting the second Robo. But he needs basically to match the amount of Ultralisk with the Immortals. If there is 6 Ultralisk out, he needs 6 Immortals. He's going to need a bunch of Archons to tank. And look, he's going for a wall off. This is so smart.
Yes, he needs this. He absolutely needs this. He knows he needs to buy time when the engagement comes. Good Fungal will lock down those Phoenix here as Jaedong kills off a lot of them. Will one Infestor go down? Oh, a Transfuse as well, saving that Infestor. Meticulous play here by Jaedong in game number 1.
And you know, there are some situations where doing this can be worth it because you make the Infestors use a lot of energy on this. But no, it wasn't one of those cases because the Infestors, they only use, I think, 2 or 3 Fungals. They still have a bunch of energy. And the Phoenixes, they really could have helped in the fight as well, lifting all of those Infestors. And I think Jaedong he's going to go for it.
Jaedong says the time is now. Those Colossi trying to do the damage from the back here, but Zerglings run into the back as well. They may actually mess with the Colossi, but the Colossi are doing a good job of focus firing down these Ultralisks where they can. Gateways buying a lot of time. One infested Terran gets lobbed forwards here as Jaedong tries to break this wall, and he's breached it. He is just about to breach it. One pile and a few more gateways. Immortals coming in from the side. Great transfuses keeping these Ultralisks alive, but he has to pull back. The wall was enough for first to buy a little bit of time.
Yeah, dude. Well, more than a little bit actually. It was enough for him to hold this attack, which he wasn't particularly supposed to hold. I'm surprised Jaedong even kept on fighting at this point. I think he believes he has enough economy to lose this army and still go for it.
Oh,
first got overconfident here. He moved out.
He moved into the middle of the map. This is catastrophic for him. The Ultralisks chase down the Colossi. They go down. The Immortals get pinned back with the Zerglings. And now Jaedong, GG, game number 1, goes to the Tyrant. And he says, no first. This is my series. This is my tournament.
That was insane. Do you think that Jaedong had planned for this all along? He was like, I'm just going to throw away some Ultras, let you believe I'm weak, have you move out in the middle and then flank your army. I think that's very possible, actually. I don't see why else he would attack at this point.
There could have been that, but I also have to come back to what you said prior. The fact that Jaedong, having denied that third base over and over, knew his economical standing point, so he could quite easily throw away a lot of those units and replenish back home. He had the Spire going down. He had the Vipers on the way. Vipers were the next step to say, I'm going to grab all of your expensive units, and then even if that didn't work, hey, I have 40 Mutalisks on the way.
It would have worked, believe me, because he needed as many Archons as he could to help tank the damage at this point, and he didn't have enough gas to get both Archons plus Templars in support to feed back the Vipers, which is exactly what you need. So MC is going to step in the booth here, maybe give a little bit of advice. I really liked when First was playing in the quarterfinals against the Terran, and he played so well, and MC just stepped in the booth. He looked at First and he was like, I simply have nothing to tell you. You just played that so well. So you just left immediately. You just give him a smile. But this time, he's gonna need to give him some great advice if he wants first to really be able to go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with Jaedong, because Jaedong, oh my God, was that impressive.
Oh yeah, that was impressive. The Ultralisk play on that map is really, really hard to deal with. But it wasn't just the way Jaedong was transitioning onto Ultralisk. It was the way he was using the Zerglings. Through that mid-game, you very rarely see Zergling use like that to hit those particular timings. And Jaedong, he knew them. He knew them and he hit them really well.
Yeah, and you know, it wasn't just using the Zerglings. Like, he did everything right. His saturation was perfect. He didn't miss an inject. He was getting quick spread going as well on the map. Just such perfect play in Jaedong in that first game.
All right, well, game number 2 now has loaded up as we go into Neo Planet S to see if Jaedong can take that 2-0 lead in this best of 5, or if first can bring it back to 1-1. I would love to see that. I want to see more maps here. As we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, a Protoss representing Incredible Miracle and Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for first. And up to the top right, the Tyrant himself, representing Korea and Evil Geniuses. Give it up for Jaedong.
Jaedong looking ever so focused. You can see from his reactions upon winning games, the fist pump he does every single time. This means so much to him.
Yeah, it really does. The second place time and time again in this matchup, in his StarCraft 2 Korea, has meant that he can't take it anymore. He wants that championship. You can see it in his eyes every single time. As you rightly said, he has that killer instinct, that stone cold look. Focus is absolutely essential, and Jaedong has plenty of it.
First, he's going to be opening the exact same way as he did in the previous game here. Maybe not as a Forge as early as he did in the first game, but with the pylon down the ramp and possibly a Forge expand. Jaedong, having been scouted immediately by a probe, he has to go for the pull first. This is very standard so far. And first, I feel like he wanted to go into a safe style in the first game, just play standard safe, but maybe a little bit too safe, and Jaedong just punished him. He read into it right from the start, and I like this, by the way, sending it 2 drones.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This is going to be very hard for the probe to block for too long, and this might be a good enough incentive to throw down a pylon for first, but since he went for the Nexus first, he would actually get his Forge very late if he did. A nice block, oh my God, I can't believe he did that for so long against 2 drones. This is so hard to do.
Yeah, that was very, very impressive control there by first. But I've got to ask you, Todd, now, going into game number 2, a map like Neo Planet S, do you think we're going to see a similar strategy from Jaedong from game number 1, or do you think he changes it up a bit?
I mean, the first game was such a smackdown. I mean, I don't see any other way to say it. And Jaedong, like I said, he can play any style that he wants to. So as much as he could use the same style as he used in the first game, he could just go for something completely different here, like Roach, Hydra, Viper, make it work on this map. He's very capable of that.
And this probe just hiding away here whilst the third base does go down. He's actually going home by the looks of things with that probe, but turning around and trying to find another way in. Very, very important. Just keeping this probe as hidden as possible.
Yeah, this is weird, by the way, this spot. Like, it's kind of like hiding in place side walk. Okay, he was just trying to hide from the Zerglings, clearing the probe, all the pylons on the map. And he's going to be able to confirm the third quite easily.
And the cannon does finish as well, so those Zerglings cannot get in. So very, very content with the position that he finds himself in his first right now, as is Jaedong, just droning up where he can. And again, this map plays out very, very differently to Whirlwind. So I would personally like to see Jaedong kind of change things up from map number 1 and keep first really, really on his toes. Because if you know a style like that's coming from a Zerg, it's not super easy to deal with, but you know how to try and deal with it, right? So I would love to see something different.
This was a very weird first game by first. I mean, remember all the chrono boosts that he has saved up on his Nexus?
Yes.
He's not doing that this game. He's spending his chrono boost pretty well. He's got 2 available right now. We should be seeing probes being chrono boosted as soon as his pylon finishes. But actually, he forgot his pylon. He's on 33 out of 36. You're supposed to make your pylon, I think, a little bit earlier if you want to be able to chrono boost probes continuously. He's going to be getting a Zealot very soon, and he has to be careful. Okay, he goes for the Stargate again. And first, he has to make a pylon just above his gateway so that he can warp in Zealots if he's about to be run by Zerglings. Because right now, you see the pylon down
that's very
this
important.
building. He can't warp just above the gateway to wall off.
So it would always have to move into position after the warp, and that's time that you cannot afford if a player like Jaedong wants to just go for a crazy run by. But behind this, we have the double gases being taken from Jaedong. He's been completely mineral focused up until this point, which is, you know, pretty darn normal here. But Jaedong's the kind of guy that really doesn't mind too much about skipping the Roach Warren at a normal time. So it looks like that we may end up seeing that again here.
Yeah, I guess he's very focused on taking down potential pylons on the map. He's got overlords everywhere. So if you can deny that very well, you don't actually need a Roach Warren.
Exactly.
You can just have Zerglings. And especially if you go for the double evolution chamber, which he has not yet so far made in this game. So that's interesting. In the previous game, he went for it kind of late. I think it was before the 8th minute. But a very fast one. I guess is this going to be spotted?
It certainly is, and in response, we actually do have Jaedong going for a bit more of a similarly timed Roach Warren here. So calling my bluff and adding on one evolution chamber thus far, along with the layer as well. So we could see definitely a very, very different game from game number 1.
What we saw before from lots of Zergs was double evolution chamber on 2 bases, and then a later third. A lot of the time. So the double evolution chamber will come down at like 6 minutes or something very, very quick.
Yeah.
But Jaedong in the previous game, he made it kind of late, but still went for it. And I think first was really expecting a Roach Hydra because of he just saw one Evo, remember, and it was kind of late. But this time he's going to see the Roach Warren, he's going to see the evolution chamber upgrading, and the +1 Zerg missile attacks is already on the way. Do you think we could see some Swarm Host here?
We could eventually. I mean, Jaedong has shown movements like that in the past that have worked very well. He did it versus Nani.
Double macro hatch. One in the main, one in the third.
Ooh.
Okay, since there is such a huge space around the natural of first, and you can attack from 2 sides as a Zerg, Jaedong could go for lots of roaches, possibly some Hydralisks in support, and just try to keep on going for flanks, to never let first take a third base, just like in the previous game, just in a different way, with roaches this time instead of full Zergling. If he goes for that and first is not ready, first does not see it coming, it's going to be very hard for him to hold it. If you mess up the first attack, you basically pretty much lost. It's going to be almost impossible to come back. And first, he's throwing down a lot of gateways. He went for few Phoenixes. Behind this, he's getting Immortals. Well, he got 1 Immortal and he's getting Colossus. He could be hitting a timing behind this. Look, he's got Probe. 19 and 16 on his bases. So I think we might have a 2-base timing here maybe by first, possibly.
But regardless of defense or aggression here from first, he's going to need that production because Jaedong behind this, he has a hell of a lot of production with those 2 extra macro hatches that are about to finish up. That lava's going to spike up very, very quickly, very soon. And it's hiding the roaches.
This is so smart. The Phoenixes, they are on the map picking off an Overseer now. They are trying to kill some Overlords as well. Jaedong, he has perfect vision of the third bases of first. He knows that there is no third base just yet. He's trying to do a scout in front of the wall of first about the upgrades. I think he saw there was +1 and the 4 still not upgrading. So that's a big tell as well, because if first will go for +2 or blink, you know, like there will be less chance he's committing to a huge attack.
But this is going to hit soon, and because Clear Reconstitution is finished, all of those roaches are going to get over there very, very quickly, and so much reinforcement potential. Those creep tumors focus down that path just to be able to reinforce a little quicker.
Usually I would say full roach is not enough against this, but I mean, this is Jaedong. He's got 27 roaches already. 90 army supply against 54, and now first he's moving out. Jaedong is going to need the perfect flank. And first he's going to need perfect force fields. And look at Jaedong, he's preparing some roaches for a flank from behind. He's going to have to wait until first engages into him. Maybe bait some force fields will be great as well.
First still doesn't know too much about this. Jaedong is going to have 40 roaches very soon, and they're going to come in from either side. He has 40 roaches now. He sees a few, but not too many. The roaches are preparing at the back here. First could be walking into a huge trap. Does he have the mothership?
Yeah, the reinforcements actually with some sentries might walk into those roaches.
Or he doesn't have his mothership core recall, and the roaches go forwards. They're going to break down one of the Colossus. The second one's going to go down as well. He uses the energy on Time Warp. He cannot recall from this position. And First's army absolutely gets disintegrated here. The big units that he required doesn't have any more force fields left. The Roach is still moving forwards. Can they stalk us all? I don't think so. So many units still in production for Jaedong.
38 Zerglings, 40 Zerglings, 1 more roach, and all the Zealots fall. Those Phoenixes do much. They just lift up a few roaches, and first is losing everything. This has to be it.
He just didn't know. GG! Jaedong takes game number 2. What a play. First did not have the information, and he got punished for it so hard.
Jaedong, oh my, this guy is so good. I can't. I can't even begin to explain how good he is. He makes everything work. Now I really believe he wanted to go for the pressure, and this kind of worked into his favor because he had so many units ready for this attack. He must have been so happy to see this coming. I mean, 2 base timings very common on this map, and look at Jaedong. He just holds perfectly with lots of roaches and a great flank. Without this flank, this can be a different game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those 2 Colossi doing damage to the roaches at the front. And Jaedong here, very, very happy about that win. But again, first didn't have the information. If he'd have waited a little bit longer, had his mothership core with him, and had the energy to actually go for a recall at that particular time, maybe he could have saved a lot of his army. But still, Jaedong had great capabilities in terms of production. I don't think he would have broken the wall of First, but the game would have been prolonged, and First could have had an opportunity to come back a little bit.
And you know, first he felt like the clock was playing against him, and it was. At this point, it was. But his execution wasn't the greatest. Like, the War Prism was quite far behind, and the reinforcements coming by ground so far behind as well. They kind of got caught out of position, and he was in this awkward position where he didn't know where to force field because of that. Because he has so many sentries trailing behind. So in the end, he was like, where do I force field? And then he didn't even react. He didn't even force field. The roaches got in there, they snapped the 2 Colossus, and I mean, from there, it's really, really hard to win for the Protoss if you go for this timing. So Star Station, actually one of the very, very difficult maps to play on. Could we see a 3-0 here, Kailaris?
We could. We certainly could. I won't be surprised if Jaedong goes back to his Ultralist style from map number 1 as well. But let's go, guys. Game number 3. Star Station is our map as these players have loaded up and are good to go. Will the Tyrant have the clean sweep, or will First bring it back? I want to see the Protoss bring it back. I want more maps. That is the reason I am here, casting this awesome tournament. As much StarCraft as possible. This is awesome. Spawning up to the top left-hand corner. Currently 2 games down. He needs your cheers, guys. Give it up for First. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, playing oh so well in this series. Can he take the clean sweep? He is the Tyrant. Give it up for Jaedong.
Let's do a recap. First game, Jaedong does not allow First to take a third for as long as he can. Second game, he goes for a strategy that, again, does not allow his opponent to take a third. In the end, First is the first one attacking and hands up, losing the game as well. We're on Star Station. It can be very hard to take a third on this map. Do you think Jaedong again goes for this sort of thing? Or does he finally try to go for something different, knowing he's 2 games ahead?
He certainly could do.
I think that's very possible that he could do the same, but also, I mean, Jaedong, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who will start goofing around just because he's up 2 maps. Like I said, this means so much to him. I don't think he's going to go into like mute us and be like, well, you know what, I'm up by 2 games. If I lose 1, it's no big deal. No,
exactly.
He wants to end the series here. And First, he's going to have to play a lot better than he did in the previous 2 games if he wants to win here. He's going to be going for the Nexus 16 again, followed by Forge, and 2 drones again being sent down.
Yeah, definitely. And oh god, for First, what a map to have to try and pull it back on. Star Station, a map that Protoss do not enjoy. I'm sure that you don't enjoy it too much as well, Todd, against Zerg. It's not the best of maps.
I mean, it can be difficult, but then again, it's a map with a Protoss overlay, so it's beautiful. And
yeah, you like that bit?
Not every map can be good for a race. It's good to have some maps where it's harder to play on as well. Like it's a challenge, I guess. And First, he chose to remove Derelict. Like I said, it was between Star Station and Derelict, and now he has to play on Star Station in that 3rd game here, which is so important for him. Jaedong is going to go for the quick third again, and we should be seeing First confirming it, although he's kind of leaving right now. What is he doing? Just claims the watchtower. Make sure that that 3rd expansion is not at 6, I guess.
Yeah, not too bad here. Jaedong just claiming his 3rd, as you said, and just getting those queens out. Whilst First back at home, I mean, if you're in first position here, you're 2 games down, you're on Star Station, and you have to bring this back. What do you do here for First? Do you try and claim a 3rd, or do you go for some 2-base timing?
It's so hard to pull off on this map, even the 2-base timing. I think he should try to go for a 3rd and go for like a robo build to have as many units as he can. But Jaedong, on this map, something very good that he could do is just go into the Roach, Hydra, Viper composition and just pressure the 3rd. But he can do that without the Vipers as well, and it's going to be so hard for First to force field around the 3rd base.
Yeah.
So I think he just goes into perfect injects like always in the start, and then he scouts a little bit. Depending on what he sees, then he's going to do something different every time. First, he likes to open Stargate, and Jaedong knows that. We could also be seeing something to try for a counter, a direct counter for this, and there are a lot of things possible in regards to that. Jaedong could drone very hard. He could go for lots of units like he has before. The Zerglings, you know, the many Zerglings that he got in the first game, it was a reaction to the Stargates. He knew that first wouldn't have that many units to secure his third. That's why I'm saying that now, if he goes for a Robo, he's going to have a lot more units on the ground. But then again, he wouldn't have the Stargate if there is Mutas later.
All right, well, I would like to see first pull this back, as I said before, as Jaedong now just transfers his Queen over to get that production going at the third base, and will ramp up that income in just a little bit. And meanwhile, those Zerglings just poking around at the front, making sure that no super crazy third's being taken. This Overlord,
I like how it was like just right above the third base.
Yeah.
Like it was bluffing, dropping creep, even though he's not on lair tech just yet. And first, he goes for a fairly quick +1 in this game. He's still mining 3+3 in his main on the gases. Could be going for if he throws down a few gateways now, and he has a probe in position in his main, by the way, like in a corner, just above his mineral line. This is a bit weird. He might throw down some gateways and go for a 4-gate pressure. Actually, no, he goes for the third base. Okay, so why is this probe there then? Is that a mistake?
Oh, maybe it's a little bit of a mistake. We'll see what he wants to do with that in just a second.
The Overlord saw the probe for like a second.
Roach Warren goes down a little bit early here for Jaedong in comparison to where his layer was, so maybe he wants to pressure this third.
Yes, possibly. Actually, it feels more like a defensive Roach Warren at this point, and Jaedong hasn't spotted the third. This is a big deal. Jaedong hasn't done a single scouting mistake so far in this series until now. This is the first time. He's trying really hard to send another Overlord and spot whether or not there is a target. If he misreads this and, I mean, if he gets some units now, just a very few, and doesn't do any damage on the third, it will be pretty bad for Jaedong, but he's not making any units just yet. He's going to be getting Zergling speed. He's got a few Zerglings down on the map, but with that nice wall on the third base, Jaedong's not going to be able to do anything to this third base. And he's droning up quite hard, which is one of the best things that he can do right now.
Yeah, it's the alternate response, right? Either you pressure that third base or you play super greedy yourself. He's getting a few roaches just to make sure that he doesn't get hit by anything too crazy. And the macro hatch is going down at the natural as well here for Jaedong. So if he starts getting a lot of Overlords here, maybe he wants to pressure, but with Glider Constitution and no +1 being mixed in just yet, I think it would be light pressure, if anything.
Yeah, he's making the evolution chamber, so he's not committing to unupgraded units. And first, he's warping in sentries, and it's natural. He's 4 now on his third base. He's just gonna have the 1 cannon and the 2 gateways with the pylon. I think he has to go for a Robo from there. That would be the only logical move with this.
Yeah.
Could be going for a Twilight Council a little bit earlier, I guess, as well, to go for the +2. He's not even upgrading the +1 armor right now. I mean, this build doesn't feel very crisp. It doesn't feel great by first, I have to say, compared to his usual games. And now he finally throws down the Twilight Council and starts the +1 armor.
Do you feel first's a little bit on tilt after the first 2 games, or?
Possibly. I mean, it's very, very hard to tell. From his play right now, I mean, it just feels like in general, he hasn't been feeling comfortable playing against Jaedong. But Jaedong is causing that. First, he wasn't thrown off his game by himself. And he first just saw the Spire. But I mean, you don't have to make Mutas or all corruptors.
Exactly.
Like a Spire could not particularly mean anything at all. But Jaedong not getting a Hydra is then. Do you think here he's committing to Mutas? He's starting to save up quite some gas right now.
Hey, maybe he will do here. I mean, it's not too bad an option on this map where you can try and exploit your opponent, but first at the same time has got Blink on the way, so that will be a bit of a precautionary measure initially.
And first, he's not been cutting probes. He's got 69 against 70 drones, so he's actually doing very well on walkers. He's moving out right now, and I feel like this is supposedly an army only there for poking, not for doing damage.
Yeah.
But look at this sentry count and how much energy they have. He could actually do some damage with this if Jaedong's not careful. So Jaedong is gonna start making lots of roaches. He needs a very nice flank.
Well, he has 20 roaches out right now. He's adding on an extra 10, so this could work out quite nicely. Good force fields continue to seal those roaches in, but at the same time, wasting all of those force fields for a frontal assault, I don't think it's going to go too well.
He's going to have to recall very quickly here, or he's going to lose lots of sentries.
Leave. Oh, those sentries, they're so important, and there he does get out there. Phew.
How many sentries just died? Every single one of them are very, very important.
Yeah. So important. If you want to hold this location especially, absolutely vital. +1 weapon starts for those Mutalisks if he wants to go for them.
And 22 Zerglings extra. Jaedong right now, his army supply is 85 against the 48 of first. And does he have a photon overcharge? He just has one. Jaedong's gonna attack the natural. I think if the photon overcharge is used, he's gonna go into the third. And first needs great force field against this. The forge dies.
Oh, a good snipe out of that forge, really limiting the upgrades here. But at the same time, the sentries, they have no energy. So many roaches push on forwards. I don't know if First can actually hold this off. He needs to know, he needs to keep his hopes alive here as Jaedong kills sentry after stalker after sentry. And the lings now flood in as well. There's no zealots to tank them.
Yeah, I mean, he has blink, but he lost all of his sentries here. That was very, very important. It wasn't supposed to happen. The time warp went down too late, I feel. And the force fields were missed again. There was so many holes in those force fields, and the roaches got through. They traded very nicely against those stalkers, even though they had blink and those sentries. And behind this Jaedong, he's getting some corruptors now. As well as Zerg melee attacks level 1, he's getting 26 Zerglings extra. He's saturated on force bases, and he's taking a 5th. If he wants from there, he can go into very heavy... Look at his gas!
Exactly.
Look at his gas. What do you think is coming?
Exactly. Jaedong here, this was his plan all along. He knew that if he can just buy some time with these very low tier units, very inexpensive units, then eventually he can get up to the position that he wants, which is 20 Mutalisks once they start coming along. He's going to go for 16, going to rock it up very quickly here. And now first, where is Stargates?
Look at the work done by Jaedong. He's claimed the left watchtower with some roaches. First went there, now he's pulled back, and now he's claiming the top watchtower. First, he doesn't know what he's up against. He saw lots of roaches and Zerglings. Now he sees some Corruptor. This is a trick.
Yeah.
This is not a mistake. Jaedong meant to show these Corruptors. He wants his opponent to believe he's going into something wild, like roaches, maybe Hydras and Corruptors. But there is going to be a big surprise in store for him as the Mutas will fly into the main.
Oh, the 2 Robos going down for first. Exactly not what he wanted here. This could be catastrophic for first if he gets caught off guard. A few Zealots too off the right-hand side. Chrono Boost at +2 needs the aero break. Over the Mutas, gonna go for the engagement with the Zerglings wrapping around this army. So much firepower here for Jaedong as he looks to kill him off. He recalls, he knows he's in a lot of trouble, but he's not far away from the straight engagement as Jaedong constantly pursues this down with the force fields going down as well. So much damage once again. No energy for a photon overcharge. First's hopes could die here. He's going to get off the forge as well. Very, very nicely done here by Jaedong.
Yeah, I think first he's going to barely hold, but he lost so much here. And Jaedong, he's on full Muta switch. He's getting only Mutas right now. He's getting the Zerg Flyer attacks level 2. He's still getting his upgrades for Zerglings and possibly Ultralisk later. Although when you go into Mutas like this, you just go up to 10 gases and you get only Mutas, and then you basically win from there.
Todd, he doesn't have Stargates. He doesn't even have a Templar Archives if he was trying to hold this off with Storm. So everything that First is doing right now is not tuned to this defense.
First's only chance right now is to keep on building his Stalker counts up to 40 or 50 and then do a Phoenix transition. That's his only chance. If he tries anything else, if he moves out, he will not win this game. Jaedong is just going to base trade and right out kill him, eliminate him, make some spines at home and just hold.
I don't know what First can do, and we're going to have to see something, an absolute miracle here. No force fields even go down. Blinks out of the fight, and now all the sentries end up dying off as well. The Zerglings and Mutalisks trying to combat. That's not a lot of Stalkers though. Will he be able to bring these Mutalisks down? +2 weapons not done for them just yet though, so he has to micro back as best as he can do. The Stalkers trying to blink back, trying to be defensive, but the army supplies still very heavily in favor here of Jaedong. He'll pull back for now and come back for another fight later.
You know why Jaedong did that? He was maxed out. He's on 5 bases. All of them are saturated. So if you're maxed out, you know your opponent is not maxed out yet. You don't have to wait for him to max out, especially if you have Jaedong's economy. Look at the income right now. Jaedong is getting so much gas, more than 1,000. He's got 82 drones, well saturated. And
oh, nice blink
careful,
there.
Though.
Killing off a few of the Mutalisks. They do get some Stalkers in the process though. Army supply still 107 to 76. And First, if he can get that 4th base up, won't be too bad, but I don't know how Jaedong's going to let him do that. I don't think he will let him.
+2 is about to finish, and Jaedong, he goes for centrifugal hooks. So he might go for lots of Banelings and basically keep on endlessly busting his opponent with Mutas and Banelings on the ground in support. There is so few sentries left on the ground for First. He's had to remake his Mothership Core as well. He doesn't have a photon overcharge yet. Jaedong, he can just harass here and go for huge busts all the time, basically. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the 6th base and he might get a kill on that Nexus.
Those Zerglings doing a good job on that 4th base, but still a blink forwards, tries to catch some of those Mutalisks. The Zerglings now going to town on those Zealots. They don't really have that many armor upgrades, and he just starts his +2 now. Very important.
He's morphing the Banelings, and first doesn't have the info. He's moving quite far out with his Stalkers. He has to be careful. The Banelings are finished morphing now.
Yeah, a lot of upgrades going here for Jaedong. First, even as the Mutalisks do engage. This could be good for First. He's getting a lot of those kills. He has to micro back, though. Those Banelings, they put a little bit of a timer on this. He blinks into the Banelings. Oh, God! Oh, a lot of those Banelings connect First with a misclick, I have to say. And the Centrifuge chasing them down as well. Probes. Oh! They die off as well. Jaedong takes 100 supply lead.
Yeah, and behind this, he's got a swarm of Zerglings heading in there. I think First, he's in a lot of trouble right now. How can he hold this to get a supply?
Even Archons can't save you at this point. First Army supplies 105 to 24. Jaedong with the victory march, making more and more units, kills off the 4th. And now Jaedong, again with 100 supply advantage, transitioning on. He feels so comfortable right now.
That misclick, man, with the blink. It's a game-losing mistake, and Jaedong is gonna go for a final assault, I believe, here, as he's morphing a lot of Banelings right now. 15 in total. He's getting Carapace, level 1 for his flying units. He's getting a 6th base underway as well. In the meantime, he's been creep threading as well. Jaedong is doing everything right in this series. He's gonna go for a final attack, I think.
Here come the Banelings trying to connect with anything that they can do. Good force fields, separate them off, but at the same time, 39 Mutalisks swing into the fray as well. Those force fields are going to dissipate very, very soon, and now he's down to only 5 Stalkers left. They plummet in numbers. Jaedong here on the 3rd base. GG! And Jaedong gets the clean sweep, advancing onto the grand finals. Who can stop the Tyrant?
Not too many people, I think. No, so far, nobody in this tournament has been able to really give this guy a run for his money. Jaedong has been stomping everyone on his way, and he looked so good here. He looked so good. He just made everything work again. He mixed it up too. Like, it's not like he has this one strategy that he makes work. He mixes it up and he makes everything work, and he looks so happy right now, and very rightfully so.
A lot of people out there said that once Jaedong figures out his Zerg versus Protoss, then he is going to be one of the most dominating forces in all of StarCraft 2. I think it's safe to say now, going into this tournament, he's kind of figured out ZVP. Give it up for Jaedong!
Wow. Congratulations to Jaedong. You guys are cheering so loud for him, and I'm sure he felt that energy in that booth, coming out with a 3-0 against First, and he has taken out so many Protosses in this tournament. Give him another big round of applause. It's EG Jaedong, your first finalist for this tournament. Let's see what he has to say. Let's see if he feels any remorse after taking out so many Protosses this weekend. 이번 대회 결승에 이제 진출하셨는데 여태까지 프로토스만 다 탈락시키셨어요. 뭐 조금 미안하거나 그런 심정은 없으신가요?
그동안 프로토스한테 당한 거 생각하면 더 이겨도 모자랄 것 같아요.
If I think back to all the losses I had against Protoss, I think I need to still win a couple more against Protosses to feel satisfied with that. So Jaedong now, he's definitely evolved past that JVP status, and now a finalist in WCS. All 3 games are great, but I have to ask what he was thinking with that misclick from First came through in that game 3. 마지막 세트에서 First 선수가 전멸을 잘못해서 앞전멸을 했어요. 그때 진짜 이건 확실히 이겼다 그런 생각 하셨나요?
네, 그때 그냥 너무 기분이 통쾌했어요. 추억 다 터지는 게 기분이 좋았어요.
Yeah, it felt so good, and just the feeling of my Banelings exploding as his Stalkers burst forward, and there is First. Now, his last step was the semifinals. Now, we heard Jaedong say that he's back yesterday. He's so close. Now on to the finals. How ready is he now to take on a Terran? He's guaranteed to meet a Terran, not Protoss anymore. Let's see what he has to say. 자, 그러면 이제 프로토스전은 다 이기시고 잘 성장하셨는데 다시 결승에선 무조건 테란전을 하셔야 돼요. 그게 뭐 갑자기 바뀌기 때문에 조금 뭐 준비를 특별히 더 해야 된다는지 뭐 걱정이 된다는지 그러는 점은 없으신가요?
일단 테란전을 이번에 처음 하는 거기 때문에 거기다가 실전제이기 때문에 좀 더 남은 시간 동안 좀 생각을 많이 해야 될 것 같아요.
It's the first time I'm meeting Terran this weekend, and it's a best of 7. It's going to require a lot of thought and preparation to go into that match if I want to win. Speaking of thought, we saw Jaedong show off some great moves and great strategy this match. I want to know what's going through his head every time he makes those flanks with those roaches.
이번 매치 때 여러 번 바퀴로 조금만 보여주고 그다음에 또 돌아서 잡고 그러시는 걸 몇 번이나 보여주셨는데 그거는 오늘 그냥 아무 실수도 없으셨던 것 같으세요. 그거를 그냥 생각하시면서 그냥 차근차근 하면 뭐 그 정도 보여준 퍼스트 선수가 급하게 나올 거라고 기대를 하셨나요?
일단 게임 하면서 오늘 컨디션도 좋았고 그냥 자신감이 계속 있었어요. 게임 하면서도 상대가 뭘 할지 계속 눈에 보였고 그래서 이겼던 것 같아요.
I just felt really good today. I was in great condition. My scouting was perfect. I saw everything that First was up to. That led to a win, and sure it did. 3-0. Jaedong, your first finalist for WCS Season 2 Finals. Give this guy another big round of applause. Is Jaedong back? He's now in the finals for sure. Is that going to be enough, though? We'll have to wait until later in the day. Your first finalist now taking down First, and now to break down that great match between Jaedong and First from LGIN, we're going to throw it over to Red Eye to have a little chat with Apollo and Artosis.
Thank you very much, Chobra. Congratulations to the Tyrant. He is through to the final. Gents, fabulous game to watch from Jaedong. He was absolutely ruthless there.
He truly was. That was pretty put together. He really did, as he said, find out everything First was doing, and then he reacted so perfectly. I think the first game on Whirlwind was like a perfect example of this.
Throughout the series, Jaedong has put a lot of work into his service Protoss. He's there. He's where he wants to be. He's gone from nothing to everything when it comes to Zerg versus Protoss, and I think he's ecstatic with this win. Throughout the entire of the series, it looked unique, it looked very special, and the best part about it, it had a Jaedong twist to it. The macro hatches to power his play, the fast 4th and 5th bases, just like in Brood War, where you take extra bases, sometimes far away, just for extra gas income to be able to support the tech switches and the units that he builds. Jaedong really played some excellent Zerg vs Protoss there.
All right, well, let's go through the 3 maps. It would be easy to start with the 3rd map with that misclick. I mean, we were standing together watching the screen, and all of us just drew a gasp of breath. It was like, what's he done? Unbelievable. And you could say that was a bit of luck for Jaedong, but he didn't need luck. Let's go back to map 1. Break it down for us.
Well, on Whirlwind, First was going for +1 Zealot attack with Phoenixes to try to hit Overlord's supply block, maybe help out in the battle against Queens and Roaches. And Jaedong just kind of sniffed it out really quickly and found the probe and made a bunch of Speedlings. And when you get those Speedlings out and you've killed the probe on the map already before it gets a pylon, you have to abandon the plan. And when he had to abandon the plan, Jaedong knew he had to go into Robo and a 3rd base. So Jaedong just made more and more and more lings, thinking, okay, I'm gonna hit that 3rd and force a cancel. It was like a perfect response through and through.
Were you surprised by First's build in that first game? Todd described it as unusual, even for a Protoss player.
I wouldn't say it's unusual for a Protoss, it's unusual for First. I said before the game started, in the early and mid game, Jaedong will probably win a lot of the games if they play. In the later stages, he said where First is most comfortable, but he decided to start the best of 5 because as a professional player, you have the choice. Do you start super aggressive? Do you put the pressure onto him in a best of 5? Or do you play your normal game to begin with? So, not sure what that was about.
That was Tasia setting out, but that's fine.
Okay.
You can carry on.
With the best of 5 is he decided to start it really fast and aggressive. And I wouldn't call it the wrong choice. I wouldn't say it was a wrong decision, but it didn't work out for him. He got scouted early, and with an investment to go for such an aggressive opening, you have to throw down 3 gateways after the Stargate really fast. Usually, you want to be getting the robotics facility quite early on to get Colossus to help against Zerglings if they put pressure on. With that being so delayed, and Jaedong knowing that was so delayed, the choice to go for the heavy lings to pressure the third made perfect sense.
Okay, so that's game one. Jaedong's one up. First sits there and he thinks, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And then we get game two.
Well, Neoplanet S, there's 3 maps in the pool that a Protoss player is not going to want to play against Jaedong. One, Derelict Watcher, he got rid of it with his veto. Another one is Neoplanet S. And the third, of course, Star Station, but not quite as bad. But on Neoplanet S, it's kind of the throwaway map where it's like, yeah, do a 2-base all-in. It kind of makes a lot of sense. And Jaedong, he felt this. When he grabbed the 2 macro hatches, it made perfect sense because all he needed to do was have as many units as possible when this 2-base attack came, and he did what we've seen throughout the weekend from him, which is set up a gigantic flank.
Yeah, so map 2 is done and dusted. It's now 2-0. We move on to map 3, and what must have been going through his head? But at this point, do you think Jaedong actually got inside his head at this point, and that was it? He was never going to come back? Because you rightly said, if it gets to late game, first is the better play. He can win these late games. It wasn't super late third, but it was quite late. It was later than we'd seen, and it looked like he might be coming back into it. It was a long way behind, then he came back, and then suddenly, boom, we get that misclick, and he's 100 supply down again.
Yeah, through that game, he made mistakes. He missed force fields against a player like Jaedong. Against any Zerg player, you can't miss force fields. You actually have to hit force fields. You can't let the units come in because you start to lose a lot. So in the early stages, he was looking okay. He made a big recall because he missed force fields. He had to waste energy on the mothership core, which is obviously not a good start because you need photon overcharge and time warps if aggression follows that up. So it started rocky. Luckily for him, he did start to drag himself back in. He had a lot of stalkers at one point, and he was doing okay. I never felt he was winning the game, but as you say, it was the longest game of all 3, and he was starting to shape himself up. But Jaedong on 5 bases really early on was able to build a lot of Mutalisks, and at the same time as building a lot of Mutalisks was a lot of Bailings and Bailing upgrades and so on. So Jaedong played it out beautifully. There was small chances for first, but there was nothing major for him to hold on to.
And Artosis, that's a good point. Do you think that had he not had that misclick, it would have been a longer game, sure, but did he really have a chance? That fourth, he was kept getting denied that fourth, and then as Apollo's already said, with the 5 bases, the Banelings rolling in, even if he hadn't got the lucky misclick, that surely was game over anyway.
I would say most likely you're right, but maybe a little bit of a chance because as we've seen from Jaedong, when he starts on mutas, he doesn't stop. So there was the possibility with the Templar tech incoming and the double forge that maybe he hits a really nice army with a lot of upgraded Stalkers, Archons, and Storms, and there's a base trade, but Zerg normally has the upper hand in that, so I would say still Jaedong probably was going to take that without too much problem.
All right, well, thank you very much, gents. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, great breakdown from Apollo and Artosis. We are going to take a quick break in a moment. Don't forget, you can still interact with us via social media. Keep your tweets coming using #WCS, and also make sure you follow StarCraft on Facebook and on Twitter. That's facebook.com/StarCraft, not /Twitter. Don't go there. I did that wrong yesterday. We've picked it up today. We'll be back after a break, and when we come back, oh boy, what a game we have. It's the second semi-final. We'll see you in a moment.